And then I'm going to grab the thing.
He on his stomach, both hands behind his back. He's not reaching for, oh my God. Oh my motherfucking God.
Just a modern day Emmett Till. They literally, dog, when I say they executed my son. They executed.
And dragged him.
And not only after they executed, but then they drug him twice. They moved him twice with a dog on their back and 2 police officers behind them. And then I watched them shoot my son 4 times. The 2 men that stood over my son back looked me in my eye and tell me why they shot my son. I want justice for Quain, Trey Johnson. Okay? And I'm going to get justice. Because this, we can't let ride.
That's right.
If we let this ride, y'all might as well just get rid of y'all whole court system, period.
They executed my baby. That's what she said. That's what Angelica Johnson looked into that camera and told the world. And I need you to really sit with those 4 words for a second, because this wasn't a statement written by a lawyer. This wasn't a press release. This was a mother, a real woman with real pain, going live, because nobody was calling her back. Nobody was coming to her door. Nobody from the department that killed her son had even picked up a phone to tell her what happened. So she picked up hers. And here's where I need to ask you something. If you found out your child had been shot by police, and nobody told you, nobody reached out, and you had to watch the video of it happening with a room full of strangers before you could even confirm it was real, what would you do? Because that is exactly what Angelica Johnson went through in the hours after the Quain Trey Johnson was killed on the night of February 18th, 2026, in Grand Rapids, Michigan. She went live. She spoke directly to her viewers, directly to her community, and directly to the officers who took her son's life. She wasn't violent. She wasn't calling for chaos. She was grieving out loud in real time, the way people do when the system leaves them no other option. And that live video spread because people felt it, because it was real, because somewhere deep down, a lot of us know that the only reason most of these cases ever get attention is because a mother refused to be quiet.
They killed my son. They shot him in the back of the head. And while they had his hand tied behind, while they were holding both his hands, they shot him in his hands. And that's only 2 of the shots. They executed my baby. They held his hands behind his back. So what you see on the news, when you see the officer, not the one that was straddling him, that shot him in the back of the head, but the one holding the gun, that's the one that shot him in his hands while his partner was shooting him in the back of his head, y'all. No mother. They shot my baby in the back of the head, y'all, while they were holding his hands.
But he's in heaven.
His brains literally were laying on the ground yesterday when I went to where they shot him. I don't want nobody's sympathy, but y'all love on y'all motherfucking kids. Y'all love on y'all motherfucking kids, dog. Oh, when I say they executed my baby, that police video footage y'all saw, America's so gung-ho about, where y'all see an officer and all y'all see is his gun drawn, that's because he was the one shooting my son in the hands that his partner had together like these. The dog was mawing at his neck. His neck is mauled up from where the dog mauled, where the dog was mauling my neck, and they said that the dog wasn't strong enough to detain him. You had a dog eating at his face and his neck, a man straddling kneeling over him with his arms behind his back, and another officer standing off to the side, and the police still ain't saying nothing. Let me remove my glasses. The police still ain't saying nothing to me.
Why they do him that way?
And
then they emptied his bag and laid the shit out to make it seem
then
like
they
he had a
tried
weapon.
to empty stuff out. It was hot that day. What the fuck? My son sweat. The fuck is he gonna wear some gloves and he's sweating on a bike? What y'all don't know is they sped that footage up because the police actually knocked him off that motherfucking bike. See, y'all can go by what the news tell y'all because the police gonna always have a different narrative, but we showed y'all what was real. We watched them stand over him while he was laying on his stomach. When does deadly force become the first?
Can we get
Mama Gwen, the first thing they resort to while he was laying on his stomach.
I'm sorry. Okay.
They shot my baby in the back of the head. They shot him in the back of the head. When they said his brains was on the ground, as I'm coming here,
Yeah.
just a modern day Emmett Till. They literally thought when I say they executed my son. They
And dragged him.
and not only after they executed, but then they drug him twice. They moved him twice before the paramedics got there. That's what they not telling y'all. They moved him twice. And by the time the paramedics got there, for some reason, my son was laying on the ground, butt naked in his drawers. That's all I'm saying. They trying to silence people with video footage. Why? Yep. I'll let y'all know, yep, he was on parole. Not for nothing that because he wasn't violent. Anyone knew him, knew he wasn't violent. He wasn't on parole for that. And so what if he was on parole? Your president got whole lots of felonies. And I don't see nobody doing nothing to him. And he played with little kids and think it's okay to call women bitches and touch on us or whatever. That's y'all president. I don't believe in this shit. But what I do know is that 2 men are getting away or trying to get away with murdering my motherfucking son. That's what I know. That's all I'm saying. I don't even know how to process this right. They didn't just shoot him. Even on the police, what they showed. Where did he look like he was hiring a threat? By the time he hit the ground, the dog was on him and the police was on his back. They showed y'all what they wanted to show y'all.
And then they opened his backpack and seen a firearm and said that was the
Then they spun it to
if
say
he did have a
if he did have a firearm.
It wasn't drawn on
It
the
wasn't
ground.
drawn.
It was deadly force.
He had a fanny pack on. There was nothing in his hand. If y'all watched what I watched, he was riding a bike. They bumped the bike. Y'all didn't see that because the way they play their footage, because it took them a long time to get that footage out there. Okay?
And
they still have yet to reach out to me. When was the last time the police didn't give their condolences when your child got killed by one of them? Y'all tell me that.
That shit right, yo.
They execute. Quain, Trey, Johnson. I can't even cry because I'm so numb right now. I can't even cry. I thank God that I do serve a good God. Because right now, I don't even know how I'm standing. When they say, God will give you a peace that surpasses all understanding, that's got to be what he's giving me right now. Because they executed my son.
He didn't deserve that. The justice could have prevailed if he was in trouble. This is why we have laws in place. This is why there are policies and there are procedures in place. At no point did they follow the
I'm still gonna thank God. God is so good. Y'all just don't know. He giving me so much strength. And then I had to tell my daughter, who's in prison, and she was like this with her brother. She come home in 30 days. And I had to tell her over the phone that her right hand was gone. I don't know if y'all ever heard a piercing scream. The scream that she let out this morning.
That baby hurt. Lord bless her. Cover her right now.
And I can't even console her. They didn't just take somebody, y'all. They tore up a family.
He meant something to everybody.
I just wanted y'all to really know the police and the news, they making this out to look like he was doing something wrong. They had been following him for days. Not only we knew it, the people at the store knew it. A lot of people, a lot of y'all know him. Y'all knew it. They executed my son. And justice will be served. I'm not going to pray. Because vengeance is God's. It's not mine. But I pray to God that them officers, I look so calm, y'all. I look so calm. I don't even know where this piece is. I don't even know how. I honestly don't even know how. I'm holding it together, considering what I just saw.
And I'm so wrong.
And I still don't know the full details, because the funeral home hasn't thoroughly looked him over. They just got him, and they know that I have been waiting to see my son. To all you mothers who have already been through this and then lost a child, I don't know how y'all did it. I don't know how y'all doing it. But I can only pray that God continue to keep me strengthened. Because this is about to be a long journey. And I'm going to have to keep reliving this moment over and over until justice is served for my son.
I mean, that's I mean, his body just went limp. They just let the dog just tear him up.
I love y'all. And again,
like he was a piece of meat.
Thank you to all of y'all who helped me get home. To all of y'all who are helping me through Cash Apps and Zelle to make my son, his homegoing, beautiful. Thank you all, because even if I gotta go in debt, that one right there, God gonna provide a way, and he gonna have a beautiful homegoing. I'm gonna ride with mine before I have to burn him. I'm gonna send him home the right way.
Lord bless his name. Bless you.
Y'all remember his name. Quain, Trey Johnson. And he was somebody. He was my somebody.
He mattered.
And his life mattered. It really did. Y'all have a good one. Again, I'm showing up. Not for y'all. Not even for me this time. I'm showing up for Quain, Trey Johnson. Y'all pray for me.
Now, let me bring you into what actually happened that night, because the details matter, and some of them are going to raise serious questions in your mind. Quain was 32 years old. He had children. He had a baby on the way. His family says he lived at the very apartment complex where he was ultimately shot. He was not a stranger to that parking lot. And on the night of February 18th, around 9:30 p.m., Grand Rapids police received a tip, not a report of crime in progress, not a call about someone being harmed, a tip that a man on a bicycle might be carrying a firearm. From that single tip, officers located Quain near a liquor store on Martin Luther King Jr. Street and attempted to stop him. He rode away on his bike. A chase followed, lasting at least 90 seconds, before Quain pulled into that apartment parking lot and got off his bike. Now here is where it gets complicated. And here is where the two versions of the story split completely apart. Police say that when officers caught up to Quain, AK-9 was deployed. They say that during the struggle on the ground, Quain pulled out a handgun. They say an officer saw the barrel pointed directly at his face. 3 shots were fired. Quain was hit in the chest. He was rushed to a nearby hospital, where he died. A handgun was later recovered at the scene. That is the official account. But then there is the bystander video. And once you hear what is in that footage, you're going to understand exactly why Angelica Johnson went live, why this community took to the streets, and why the people of Grand Rapids, a city that has already buried Patrick Lyoya, were not willing to just accept the official version of events and move on. The bystander video shows Quain Johnson on his stomach, face down, on the ground. AK-9 is what appears to be his arm locked in its mouth. One officer is straddling him from behind, and in that position, pinned with a dog on him, with officers over him, 3 shots are fired, up close, and the dog doesn't even let go after the shots are fired. It stays latched on. Now I want you to pause and really think about that. Because the question that every single person who watched that video was asking is the same one I'm asking you right now. If a man is face down, with a police dog tearing into his arm, and officers physically on top of him, at what point does he pose enough a threat to justify shooting him 3 times in the chest at close range? At what point does that become the only option? That is not a question with an easy answer. And I'm not here to pretend it is. Use of force law in this country, specifically a Supreme Court ruling from 1989 called Graham versus Connor, says that officers are judged by what they reasonably believed in that moment, not by what we see on a video after the fact. A use of force expert who reviewed this case even pointed out that just because a dog has one arm doesn't mean a person has lost the use of the other. The officer's attorney released a statement saying his client saw the barrel of a gun pointed directly at his face and made a split-second decision to protect his life. But here is what Angelica Johnson saw when she was finally allowed to view her son's body on Friday morning, 2 days after he was killed. She said she saw where the dog had mauled him in the neck. And then she said something that stopped a lot of people cold. She said she saw a wound on the back of his head, not the front, the back. And she made a deliberate choice not to say too much about it publicly, because she said, and I thought this was incredibly sharp for a woman deep in grief. She said the photos will speak for themselves, and she was not going to let the police spin a narrative around her words. Think about that level of presence of mind. This woman just lost her son. She just saw his body for the first time. And she is already thinking 3 steps ahead, because she knows how these things go. She has watched it happen to other families. She knew that the moment she said too much, someone would take her words and use them to undermine her credibility. So she held back, strategically, while grieving. That tells you everything about what it means to be a black mother in America seeking justice for a child lost to a police encounter. You don't just get to grieve. You have to become your own investigator, your own spokesperson, your own legal strategist, all while the pain is still fresh, all while you haven't even slept. And Grand Rapids is not a random backdrop for this story. This is a city that has been here before.
Today, I pray to God that we all stand together finally and get justice for this community and make a change in our city so that our grandkids and our great-grandkids have an extended life. I also want to let the community know I thank them for their support. I do, however, want to reiterate that I do not condone any type of violence, not even to the officer who shot my son in the back of the head. Okay? So, if you're gonna protest, please make it peaceful. Because if you can't do it peacefully, please don't march at this time and say that you're doing it on behalf of my son. Because I can't get justice if we're being violent too. Okay? So I need the community to know. I want you to show up and show out, but we got to show out in the right way. Because the only way we can make a difference is if we stop acting the way they want us to. Amen. I'm a little numb, so if I'm not crying, it doesn't mean I'm not hurt. If I'm not standing here with my strength right now, I'm standing here with the strength of God. Because at 11 o'clock today, the Lord met me right where I was in that funeral home. No mother should ever have to have the final memory. That's what I got today. The evidence is there. Y'all couldn't see it, but you will soon enough. But my son was shot in the back of the head. He was mauled in the neck by a dog. And the way he was shot in his hands, you could tell that his hands were being held behind his back. To the police chief, I'm not mad at y'all. What I want y'all to know is, yeah, Quain was on parole. Quain was a convicted felon. He was. But Quain had a heart of gold. Okay? And if being a convicted felon and being on a parole is justified, is a justifiable cause
Homicide.
to execute, because they didn't just shoot him. They shot him execution style. It was up close and personal. Okay? They didn't just take my baby. They took somebody who loved his community, who gave to his community, who did for his community, who anybody could pick up the phone and call, and he was there. There's a million people that can tell you how Quain uplifted them. So yeah, I acknowledge he was a convict. He was on parole too.
So is your president.
But your president is a convict.
35 times.
He in Epstein files. He groping women, but we voted him in, and I don't see none of y'all okaying us to go shoot him down like a dog. You know how many of y'all folks, how many people are in positions of power that should be convicts, but because they had enough money, their record ain't on file. Quain just didn't have enough money to hide his dirt. Okay? So if y'all gonna look at him for the father that he was.
Absolutely.
For the son that he was. For the brother that he was. I had to tell my daughter that her best friend was dead. And I don't think anybody knows. Now, I lost one, but the piercing scream that came through that phone killed me on the inside. Go out and love on your kids. I need y'all to start standing up for y'all kids. Because we are all that they got when their voice is taken away. I'm going to be Quain's voice. And I'm going to be Riley Doggett's voice. And I'm going to be Samuel Sterling's voice. And we are going to say their names. We are going to say their names. And we are going to get justice. Not just for my son, but for all these other people who the police went home, had dinner with their wife and their kids. And everybody's so worried about them and their family. After they done shot mine down,
And they ain't even reached out to you.
I still haven't got my condolences from the chief of police. I ain't heard from the chief of police, and I probably won't, because if I was them, I wouldn't call me either, because that's more evidence for me. I'm just saying. But At the end of the day, I do thank everyone. Justice will be served.
That's right.
My son and the rest of these young men, their lives will not have been in vain. And I have faith in God that my son's death, we're going to make an impact on this one.
Not long ago, in 2022, Patrick Lyoya, a Congolese immigrant, was pulled over for a minor traffic issue. It ended with him on the ground, and an officer shooting him in the back of the head. That officer was convicted of second-degree murder. And yet here the community is again, standing in a parking lot, watching another video, asking the same questions. What does it take for things to actually change? When Angelica Johnson stood in front of that community press conference on Friday night, she did something that most people in her position never do. She called for peace. She looked out at a crowd of people who were angry, rightfully angry, and she said, if you're going to protest, do it peacefully. She said if you cannot do it peacefully, do not march in her son's name, because she understood something that a lot of people in that moment did not want to hear. That chaos would give people a reason to shift the focus away from the Quain and onto the reaction, and she refused to let that happen. She also said something to the police chief directly that I think a lot of people glossed over. She said she was not mad at them. She acknowledged that her son was on parole. She acknowledged his past. And then she said, and this is the part that hit hardest, that none of that should be a justifiable reason to execute someone. That a heart of gold does not disappear because of a criminal record. That her son was somebody's father, somebody's partner, somebody's child. And that the way he died, face down, up close, 3 shots, did not match any version of justice she had ever been taught to believe in. And the community around her feels the same weight. People who live on that southeast side of Grand Rapids will tell you that interactions with police in that area carry a different kind of tension. That being stopped, questioned, or followed is not an occasional experience. It is routine. That when you live in a neighborhood that is already over-policed and under-resourced, every encounter with law enforcement carries a level of risk that people in other parts of the same city simply do not feel. That is not an opinion. That is what residents say when you actually sit down and listen to them. The same streets, the same city, but a completely different reality depending on your zip code and the color of your skin. The Quain's aunt said it in a way that stayed with me. She asked people to look at her nephew not as what the headlines were making him out to be, but as a full human being, a son, a dad, a partner, a man with a baby on the way who lived in that apartment complex and ended up dying in its parking lot. She said a wrong had been done, and she asked people to bend their understanding enough to see him as a person first. So now I want to leave you with some questions. Not questions I can answer for you. Questions I genuinely want you to sit with. If the officer truly believed his life was in danger, why does the body tell a different story than the one being presented? Why does it take a mother going live on social media for the world to pay attention to something that happened in a parking lot with multiple witnesses? And if justice was actually served in the Patrick Lyoya case, if that conviction was supposed to send a message, why are we back here again, in the same city, with the same community, holding the same signs? What does it say about a system when a grieving mother has to become a legal strategist just to make sure her son's death is not swept under a rug? And honestly, if this were your child, would you trust the process? Those are not comfortable questions, but they are necessary ones. If this case moved you, share this video. Talk about the Quain Johnson by name. Follow updates on this investigation, because this is not over. Demand transparency not just in Grand Rapids, but in your own city, your own community. And if you are a parent watching this right now, hold your kids a little tighter tonight, because Angelica Johnson did not get that chance. And she deserves to know that her son's life mattered enough for the world to keep watching. Justice for Quain Trey Johnson.